On these first two episodes, I want to break down my story for you. We break down all these other people's success and their lives, but we rarely do that for ourselves. So I want to do that on these first two. Hopefully my journey can be a source of inspiration for you. Welcome to the Frame by Frame podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Mogg. This is the very first episode of Frame by Frame. On this podcast, I'm going to be sitting down and talking to filmmakers, media personalities, industry insiders, and together we'll break down their life and see how each frame contributes to their career success story. And this idea really came to me while I was writing my short film, The Last Flight, on writing can be intimidating, but if you really start to stack everything up together, you put a couple scenes together, and those scenes are made up by frames. And life is kind of similar, where all these little decisions, actions we take add up, and they tell our full story. So that's how I got to the name of Frame by Frame. If you don't know who I am, I'm a filmmaker based out of Seattle. I'm a 4-time Emmy winner for my time at NBC Sports, which we'll get into. I'm from Florida originally, grew up there, but came to Seattle as my parents are from the area quite a bit. So I have ties here. I grew up a huge Seahawks fan and got to work with Russell Wilson and with the Seahawks quite a bit, which was another dream come true. So yes, I'm finally starting my own podcast. There's a couple reasons as for my why. One is I have experience doing this. I ran Russell Wilson's Danger Talk for a while. I was the host for a couple seasons and then was the executive producer and showrunner with ESPN when we did that version of it. We had some huge guests, Matthew McConaughey, Shaq, Dwayne Wade, a host of different people on there. So I know what it takes to run a podcast like that at a high level, in addition to running the Think Like a Champion podcast on Audible. So I had the experience. And then I have the equipment, from cameras, lighting. I'm also using this beautiful Kasama space here in Seattle. So I have the equipment and resources to do a very high-end looking podcast, which is what I want to make. And then the last few things is I feel like I finally have something to say, and hopefully what I say can contribute and help the viewers and listeners at home. 2024 was honestly a pretty challenging time for me in the filmmaking space. Projects fell through, didn't happen. The industry shifted. It's seen a big shift the last couple years. And so I want to take my experience that I've learned and impart it onto you all who are watching and listening. And hopefully it'll be some help and you can learn from the trial and errors that I had, and really just putting myself out there in the podcast space. I'm curious to see what happens if these conversations are helpful. Like I said, I want to inspire the next generation of creatives to write their own story, as this industry is tough and difficult to navigate. And thankfully, I've been blessed to know a host of people in the network of entertainment. And hopefully these conversations, these people that I thankfully have access to and hopefully will gain access to, I do have a wish list of people I want to talk to, will help you and inspire you to write your own journey. So who is this podcast for? What's it about? And I really want to make it for young upcoming filmmakers, folks who are interested in working in the sports space, or maybe you're just interested in the creative process. I want to bring on different guests, whether it's celebrities, entertainers, media personalities, industry insiders, and I want to go through their life and see how each frame contributed to their career success. Life, like all great stories, has 3 acts. I want to inspire the next generation of creative storytellers to write their own story, no matter which act they're in, because I feel like it's very easy to compare yourself to someone maybe who's in act 2 or 3 while you're still starting your journey on act 1 and think, oh, I should be there. I don't know, maybe I did this wrong, but hopefully I'll have different folks in different acts of their lives that will help you and your journey, no matter which act you're in. So I want to start breaking down my own story first. As I've said, I'm pretty blessed to have quite a bit of experience in this space. I've been in over it for 10 years now. And I was listening to the Modern Wisdom podcast, which is an inspiration and for this show. And Matthew McConaughey was talking about how we break down everyone else's career success, but we don't break down our own. So I want to do that as an exercise, as a tool. Hopefully you can learn from me and what's gone on in my life and help you at home. So let's start in Act 1. I have always loved the camera, making movies with my friend. It started when I was probably like 10 or 12 years old. And then I got into the morning announcement show in high school, and I loved being part of that. And that just kind of always was a passion and a hobby. Sports was really my big thing. I played baseball. I was good at it, and I chose that. Baseball was a big reason of why I chose my college, University of Tampa, but I got really lucky that they had a great media arts program. And I did my first internship out of school was with the Golf Channel. Hosting was actually something that I was interested in. I hosted the morning show in high school. I had been on camera. I did like that. I still enjoy it, but I kind of went the Golf Channel route, got to see that. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll just like work in local news, local TV. But that was part of it too. I didn't want to like go be a news anchor in some small town somewhere. That was kind of the path back then. And then my life really changed. 2010, I went to the Cannes Film Festival. I got really lucky. Deborah Ortega, who was then at Summit Entertainment, picked me to be her intern for the festival. And that just like really opened up my eyes to this world, and that this is a huge international business. This is so much bigger than like local news, local TV. And I remember thinking, okay, like that's what I want to be a part of. That's what I want to go do. Looking back, like I was so incredibly blessed to have this experience at Cannes. I was like really in charge of helping Deborah with VIPs, distributors, people coming in for meetings. And then I also learned on like getting the tickets to the different premieres and how that whole worked, and the game behind that, which was super fun. Went to a ton of like red carpet premieres, which looking back, I got to see some incredible movies. The top ones I saw in 2010 was I went to the opening premiere of Robin Hood, which was incredible. I saw Wall Street, the newer Wall Street from Oliver Stone. In that, I saw George Lucas in the lobby of the Grand Palais, which like I was freaking out being a huge Star Wars fan. And then the big Summit movie there was Fair Game. Got to meet Naomi Watts at the after party, which was really cool. So after that, I went back to school for my senior year and I took an editing class. And for me, that's like really where things took off. I was making projects all the time. I was in Final Cut 7. Just really learning editing, how to make stuff quickly, how to turn it around. And then I actually interned at the American Film Market that fall in Santa Monica. So that was a little bit different experience, not quite as glamorous as Cannes, but I got to just see everything, kind of the other side, the sales and distribution side of the film industry. And then I went back to Cannes that final year after I graduated my senior year. And that was just like, again, another amazing experience. I was at the premiere of Tree of Life, which was incredible. Saw Brad Pitt, Jessica Chastain, Sean Penn. My mom came that year and we saw Drive with Ryan Gosling. My mom actually got to meet Ryan Gosling really quickly in his car afterwards, which is, such a cool memory. And then I also saw the Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't remember which one exactly, with Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz. So getting to see this cinema at a high level, I always like wanted a taste of that. And I did graduate right as the recession was happening, which was tough for a job market. And I got really lucky that through a connection, I got connected to Tony Dungy, who is a Super Bowl winning NFL head coach, and his nonprofit. And then from there, we got started working together. And I'm hoping to have him on the show at some point this season just to talk about his career and his story. But we really like built a rapport together. It was right as social media was taking off, and we like started his Facebook page, Instagram, and there was kind of this like that crossover of social media and video content production was like really beginning to come together. And so the kind of thing that really changed everything was that Coach Dungy actually asked me to make, I believe it was his 30th wedding anniversary video. And that just kind of like changed the dynamic between, being more of a working relationship to like getting into the personal side. And, I obviously wanted to do a really good job at it. And, of course I did. And I went to bring the DVD to his house, if you guys remember those DVDs. And we just sat on his back porch. I remember thinking like, okay, this is kind of my time now to express hopes, dreams, visions I had. And I just said, hey, coach, like I love working here. I think the work we're doing important. It's called Family First, All Pro Dad, really helping families, parents, giving them tools and resources to be the best parents and husbands, wives they can be. But I've got like bigger dreams, aspirations for my life. Is there any way you could help me? And he was, quite receptive to it. He invited me up to NBC Sports over the weekend at 30 Rock in New York City, which was incredible, and just kind of let me shadow, make some connections. And I was 24 at the time. And from that experience, my big break into the industry was working on the Sunday Night Football bus and living on it. We drove to every single game across the country, and it was quite fitting as the very first game was here in Seattle. They had just won the Super Bowl. We opened up against the Packers that year, and we drove all across the country. And, that was such a life-changing experience and kind of like what I was looking for. It was a grind as we were driving everywhere. We literally were on the bus, Trey and Dante, my homies. We just had a great dynamic, and that really got me into the mode of like, I had different content pieces that were due every week. And this is like really when Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that content was really starting to come online. So it was cool to see different parts of the country and how different, the middle of the country is versus like the West Coast and the East Coast, and really getting kind of like my pulse on the American people, what each different fan base is like, and who is attracted to what team. So it was just like such an incredible experience that I really can't go back and do. That was such like a short phase of my life and season that I could do that and kind of drop everything and go travel the country. The way that season ended was, unfortunately, Super Bowl 49, I did get to go, and NBC was gracious enough to give me a ticket to the game. I saw the Seahawks lose the Super Bowl on the 1 yard line. I don't know that I've ever felt that much pain at a sporting event before, but that was just such, one, it was like incredible that my team was going to the Super Bowl after this long, hard year being on the bus. And, it was quite the unfortunate ending, but got my really first taste into NFL life. This episode of Frame by Frame is brought to you by Mogg Media. Whether you're a brand or creator or business looking to tell your story through powerful visuals, Mogg Media is here to bring your vision to life. Based in Seattle, but serving clients all over, we specialize in high-quality video production that connects and converts. From commercials, branded content, to social media videos, and even short films, we handle every step frame by frame. If you'd like to work with us, please shoot me a note, hello@danielmogg.com. I'd love to get in touch with you, hop on a discovery call, and see how we can work together in 2025. So after the Super Bowl, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, but NBC reached out to come on board and be their social media producer for Sunday Night Football. And that was kind of the next step, the next progression. I'd be fully embedded into the broadcast team. And that's when really everything was integrated, and really the role was shooting photography on the sidelines during the game and being like live on-site content creator, which was, quite new at the time. And so, my very first game I ever got to shoot as a sports photographer was in the NFL, which is honestly crazy to think back at it, and so blessed and fortunate to do that. And I didn't have to go through shooting local games or even college sports. So I'm so grateful for that. And it was a big learning curve. I bought a couple books, different things to learn how to shoot a football game. And it's pretty insane how fast the game speed is when you first get down there, how big the guys are. It's unbelievable. But to be honest, you do get used to it over time as you just spend more time down there. So that was just huge from a portfolio standpoint. I had awesome Instagram pictures to use and really kind of start to build my brand that way. And the other part I'm really grateful for is working under Fred Godelli. Now, Fred is the most prominent and probably best live sports, especially football producer, that's really ever done it. And producer, when it comes to live sports, is you're really in charge of the whole show. It's a little bit, different than directing a film or commercial. And so, producer is just in charge of everything, storylines, working with talent, basically the whole experience of the show that you're watching on the broadcast. The producer is in charge of, and he's one of the best. And I think what I really learned most from him was that, at a show of that magnitude, of that scale, it's, the biggest show on primetime, highest rated show, that all these different details, the attention that you pay to it adds up and makes everything better across the board. So it's not just a high level area of focus that he was on. He had every single detail dialed, from cameras, like I said, to the talent, what they're doing, to storylines for each game. And one of the hardest but best exercises we used to do was that everyone on the team had to come to the meeting with different ideas. But if you're my coworker and you say an idea, I can no longer repeat or say that idea again in the meeting. So it really forced everyone to be on their A game, dig deep into ideas around the game, to think outside of the box. And like I said, it was difficult, but it really forced me to see the game and watch it in a little bit different ways, and then just be around such high level production. I mean, it is like a big traveling circus show, or even in my opinion, like a movie set where you're going, each and every week. Sometimes games can be flexed and change. And so getting that just grand experience was huge for me. And at that time, the Seahawks were on Sunday Night Football quite a bit because they were very good. And it was through that I met Russ. And, we got to know each other first on the Carrie Underwood open shoot down in LA. There was a big, studio lot shoot at Universal, which was incredible. And I was in part of producing the social clips and pieces that we would use throughout the season over green screen. And so, Russ came, we just kind of hit it off and met each other. I knew some of the folks on his team. And then that season, again, the Seahawks were on Sunday Night Football quite a bit. So Russ would see me. I was taking pictures on the sideline and, would shoot it over to some of his team, just for them to have. And that's one trick tip I would have, is that photos really become a great networking currency. And I can't say that I took photos in hopes of getting somewhere with them, but it is kind of a nice gesture to do for someone, to stay in touch, swap contact info. That has been a nice little networking tool. And everyone wants great pictures of themselves. I mean, I do too. So it's just a nice way to network. So that would be a little bit of a tip I would have, to use photos as a little networking tool. And from there, I really love my time at NBC. But getting into film, like I said, from my time at Cannes was always in the back of my mind. And staying at NBC is it is a long-term play. Most people that work there stay there forever. I kind of knew that wasn't me, wasn't my entrepreneurial type of spirit. And so at the end of the 2016 season, I believe I was 27 at the time, Russ reached out, asked to contact me, talk to me about really taking over his production company. He's doing all these branded commercials, shoots different things. He wanted me to kind of take that over and direct it. And to be honest, it was a pretty hard decision. I mean, the fan in me, huge Seahawks fan. I remember thinking when they won the Super Bowl, I don't know how, but I'm going to get connected to that guy someday. And it happened. And the practicalness of me of, I'm at a big company. I've got 401k, health insurance, all those things was stuff I was wrestling with. And this was, I don't remember what year, but the year that the Patriots beat the Falcons, crazy comeback in the Super Bowl. That weekend, Russ brought me out to LA and we had a great discussion. And I kind of knew flying back that I was going to take it. I just kind of wanted to like see him, shake his hand, really like spend time with him in person to make the decision. And so I will go into my experience with him in West to East on the next episode. Thank you guys for tuning in, watching episode 1 of Frame by Frame. I'm excited to share. I hope that the insight is helpful. So please, any comments you have below on what you want to learn, what you want to hear about, would love to hear from you. You can follow me on Instagram, Daniel J. Mogg. And then I also have a new show Instagram I started called Frame by Pod. You can check that out. That'll be in my bio. But stay tuned. Episode 2 will be coming out right after this, and we'll get into my story at West to East and what I'm up to now.